Hello, everyone. Heidi here from Rain Country. God is good all the time. Here for another live today and coming in early, like I try to always do. I don't really have to try. I'm usually just sitting around waiting anyway, that last 5-10 minutes before. And so it's like, I got to go on early. I like going on early. I like going on early anyway because it gives people more time to get the notification and get in here if they like to be a part of it as it's actually live. So, before I get into any topics, let me just remind everyone that if we get cut off, I do have a backup stream ready to go, and it is in the description box down below. So keep in mind, I keep it set on private until it looks like I need to go to the backup stream, at which point I will then make it public and then I'll go live. So it's still, even though I have everything ready to go, it still takes me a minute or two to get it going. But no Deb today. So she's with family today, which is good. I told her, she said, I might be back for part of it. I said, you take your time. And family's more important than being my moderator. I mean, I love having my moderators, especially when they can share links and stuff, but it's all good. So I was going to say something else, and I just had a brain cramp. Anyway, hopefully it'll be another one of those good days where YouTube doesn't cut us off. I really believe it's it's not intentional. I think if you're using the YouTube stream, like you can use like OBS, which I used to use years ago when I was first doing lives. To me, it's just another hassle because it's another thing you have to log into. And so you got all these different windows. And I don't want to have to do that. But I heard some people sometimes have issues with that too. So I know I'm not the only one that goes through this. It just happens. So I think it's just one of those weird glitches on YouTube's end. Don't believe it's intentional. Who knows though? Who knows these days? So I would like to think not. I think one of these days though, I am going to finally reach out to them and say, hey, because I've heard other people have, but I've also heard that, other people are going through the same thing with the channel and the weird algorithm thing and their own subscribers not getting notifications of new videos. But when they've contacted them, they've just said, well, we're not going to do anything about it. And I'm like, that's what they're saying. Maybe I should go ahead and just reach out to them and say, hey, what's going on? Why is it my own subscribers, about 75% to 80% of my own subscribers don't get to see my content? I mean, that's why they're subscribed, right? Maybe I will. I did reach out to Rumble today though, because for the past 3 days I've made 0 cents. Zero. I'm still getting views, making absolutely no money on Rumble now. So hopefully it's just a weird, sometimes when things are changing over and they're doing different things, because I know they're doing something different with the dashboard. So sometimes when that kind of stuff is going on, they're redesigning stuff, it can take longer for certain things to show up, but I still find it weird. Anyway, so a few things before I get into my actual topics, I just wanted to let you know, which again also gives more people time to come in. And for those few who are blessed enough to get the notification, they can get have time to get it. So my tomatoes, well, my garden generally has been doing okay, despite the weird, like last week, several days ago, it felt like early winter here. It was so cold. I even built a fire. That's how cold it was. And then the last few days have been hot. But it's been like this all summer, just the cold, 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 hot, cold, 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 hot. But anyway, I wanted to show you. So I've been talking about these mortgage lifter tomatoes that I've never grown before, and somebody sent me seeds for them last year, I think it was. And I'm definitely doing these again. So this one right here, I would say is probably about the standard size, just like an average size tomato, not tiny, but it's got good weight to it. And they're prolific. They put out quite a few tomatoes. But look at this guy. Look at this one. Look at that thing. I mean, Granted, I do have small hands, so it's gonna make it look even bigger, but I don't know that I've ever had a tomato quite that big before, even on my purples, which can sometimes get quite large. So, that's pretty cool. I'm really happy with those. I'm really grateful for the person who sent me those seeds. So, I will definitely be saving the seeds. This one's not fully ripe yet. I usually pick them before while they're still in the process of turning red so that it more energy can go into making more tomatoes and getting those mature. And anyway, so yeah, so it should be this color in about another day. So you can see this one's still kind of orange. Everybody's still there, right? I didn't get cut off already, did I? I'm sure somebody had let me know if I was. My throat's a little bit better today. Oh, I see the hearts. See the hearts, they help. They let me know. You don't even have to comment. Just give me hearts and I know. I know I'm still here. Cuz sometimes it might do a quick like disconnect and I won't even see it. Usually it shows up on my screen here. Anyway, so yeah, I'm really happy with these. So I'll definitely be growing them again. So yeah, my point was, I mean, I'll still use this tomato, but what I do now when I save my seeds is, because I'm cutting up the tomatoes and I puree them and I dehydrate them and make tomato flakes that I use for all my sauces and whatnot. So I'll be doing the same thing with this, but I'll be making sure to take out a whole bunch of seeds out of this one. So, because this is going to be one of my biggest, healthiest ones from the mortgage lifters, and will most assuredly be growing those next year. Very, very pleased with those. My two favorites right now when it comes to tomatoes for production, for size, and flavor. Well, I think the flavor on these are good. I can't remember if I've tried one yet. Um, but are the purple, which I believe is a purple Cherokee, but I don't know for certain. But a lot of people have seen it, think it is, think it looks just like the purple Cherokee because it just came in we bought a kind of a surprise mystery package, whatever, of organic heirloom tomatoes. I had somebody pick them up for me in town, and there was this really nice purple one in there, and I love the flavor of it. So I saved the seeds from that one. And that was years ago. I'm talking maybe as long as 10 years ago. And I've been could be longer. But anyway, I've been growing tomatoes from that one tomato. I've been growing tomatoes from that every year, saving seeds every year. Well, except for last year. Last year I gave my garden a break, which I got some more interesting information to share with you about my experience in giving all of my garden areas a sabbatical. And whether you believe that's something you need to do or not, it's been a very, very interesting year. I'll say that. I've learned a lot and it was definitely worth it. So we got a question. Just went out there, the bottoms of my green tomatoes got rushed and a reason why. I don't know, that's probably your voice to text not saying it correctly. I'm not sure what rushed means. If you mean the blossom end of the tomatoes turning black, that's blossom end rot. That is happening to my Romas this year, but my Romas are always kind of hit and miss. All my other tomatoes are great. But usually that means a calcium deficiency in the soil when that happens, if that's what you're seeing. So the end of the tomato, not the vine end, but the blossom end. That's why it's called blossom end rot. So anyway, and then a couple more things I thought was one thing was kind of funny was some of you might have seen that picture of the thornless blackberries that we grow in the backyard. So let me explain where those came from. Those were a gift. That plant was a gift from my brother-in-law who passed away in 2019. And several years prior to that, he had bought that as a gift just to add to my garden. He was very thoughtful that way. And I was so excited about them, and then as they really started putting out berries, I mean, man, these things are huge. That's just the way they are. They get really big. In that first year, I was like, man, I'm not really impressed with the flavor. Same thing the next year. They look so good, but then it's like the flavor was eh. But through the years, I've noticed the flavor getting better. And this year, they taste the best yet. Now, someone did say in in the comment under there that they wait about a week after they turn black. If I did that, there wouldn't be anything left. They mature, once they turn black, they go quickly after that. So I have to pick them as soon as they turn black. But all the ones lower down, my chickens free range that whole area all year round. So below them, the chickens get whatever is low on those. And so one person said that they think they've noticed that the thornless blackberries get sweeter as they age. And I don't know if they mean the plant or the berries because it was a different comment, but I've had these for quite a few years and the flavor has been getting progressively better. But I do also wonder if it isn't due to the fact that the chickens are always roaming around down there at the base of the plants all through the year and leaving their droppings under there. And so that could be partly what's helping them out to get a better flavor. They're still not my favorite blackberry, the Himalayans that grow on our other piece of property, and then the small wild blackberries, which I'm surprised out there, they're not that small. They're still end up a lot of them being about that big, which is pretty big for a wild blackberry. Those have the very best flavor of the blackberries we get around here, but the thornless ones are still really nice, and I'm glad I have them. So, yep, that's what I said, Donna. It's usually due to calcium deficiency. Then again, you might have just come in and started it. It might be a delay, so you might not have heard me say it. But I think there are other things you can do too to help prevent blossom end rot. So, all right. What was one more thing? One more thing. One more just side thing that's not important, but I keep forgetting to tell you that. So I have the last hatching of chicks that I did. I got 4 hens, which is better than the previous 2 where I got 1 out of each. And they're all half Buff Orpington. Well, no, wait. One of them could be 1/4 Buff Orpington because but I'm not sure if it's them. I think they're all the hens are half Buff Orpington because I did take 1 or 2 eggs from Isabella, who is half Buff Orpington and half whatever all Antonio is. And she's just a great hen, just love her to pieces. But I don't know, I didn't keep track of which chick came out of which egg, so one of the roosters might have come out of her. I'm not sure. But at any rate, I'm pretty sure the 4 hens are all at least 50% Buff Orpington, and then of course Antonio. And 2 of them look mostly Buff Orpington. They're almost completely that color of a Buff Orpington, except for one of them has just a little bit of white on the end of its tail and a little bit of white around its eyes instead of being that solid kind of goldish color. And that one I'm naming Ginger. And then the other one that looks mostly Buff Orpington, right at the very end of a few of her tail feathers is black. It's very interesting. So that one's Amelia. And then my favorite one for looks, she has a little more of a copper tone to her feathers, like around her head and then going down to most of her body. But the ends of her, her bigger wing feathers and her tail feathers are white. She's so pretty. Not pure white, more of a cream color, but she is so pretty. So I named her Allie, which is short for alabaster, which I don't like the name alabaster, but that's what her feathers remind me of. So I named her Allie. And then the 4th one, she's mostly copper, like Antonio, the copper color that's in through most of his body. So I named her Penelope. Penelope. Amelia Bedelia. Why does that sound familiar? Oh, that sounds so familiar. Terry got 10 guinea hens. They're loud, but they chase off snakes. I heard they're really good at keeping ticks down. Do you have ticks in Texas? No, we don't have ticks here in Washington, at least not that I know of. It's never been an issue. Child story. Is that the name of the story? How do you determine who is laying which eggs when they lay the same color? That's the tricky part, Donna. It's easier if you have smaller, because I just have backyard chickens. I don't have a ton of chickens. And so I'm always checking, especially as it gets close to that time, and you get familiar with who lays what egg by shape, by the box that they like to be in. Like Isabella, she, even though she's, half Buff Orpington, her eggs, you would think that she would lay the standard Buff Orpington color eggs, because they say that the hens usually lay the same color egg that their mother laid. Well, her eggs are a little darker. They're not fully brown, but they're a little darker than that. So hers are easy to tell because they're a unique color from all the Buff Orpingtons. And then I have Guinevere, who lays an olive egg. She's the only one I have that lays that color. And then out of the other Buff Orpingtons, and I'll find about my young ones, I don't know what color they're going to lay yet. I'm assuming they're going to all look like Buff Orpington eggs, but they could be like Isabella's eggs. So every chicken also tends to have a unique shape to their eggs. So if you're constantly going out there and checking all the time, during that time, you want to be familiar with who lays what. Get familiar with what box they prefer, and always check, okay, that one's in that box right now. Make sure there's no other eggs under her. And then when she's done, you go in there and look again. It's like, okay, this is the egg she lays. This is what it looks like. This is the color. Because even amongst pure Buff Orpingtons, their eggs can still vary in shade. They can be kind of a pinkish tone to a little bit of a darker tan, and then anywhere in between. Some can be almost kind of a cream color. They're so light. And it's just, it's going to be unique for each bird. And you'll get familiar with that because it will be a pretty standard pattern for each hen to lay that same shape, that same color. But if you have like a lot of chickens, that would be hard to do. I'm able to do it because I keep a limited amount. In fact, we had 21 was the most we've ever had at one time, but I had 7 of them altogether, or 6 of them were cockerels and one was my rooster. So obviously all the cockerels had to go, and they've gone, and we've taken out 2 of the non-laying hens. So now I'm down to 13 total. So 12 hens and 1 rooster, and 4 of those hens are young. Couple of them are slowing way down for the season in their laying. So I think all of them are starting to slow down, actually. But those new ones should start laying, I would say anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, they should start laying, I think. I know Buff Orpingtons have a tendency to mature slower than certain other breeds. This is what I've picked up on. My chicken egg lady had 15 layers and a raccoon destroyed them all. That's sad. That is so horrible. Yeah, we do get raccoons even here in our neighborhood. And so we made sure to make our coop. Raccoons are very, very tenacious, and they practically have hands, right? So they can do a lot with those. So that's why Patrick, when we decided to use that area under the playhouse as a chicken coop, the kids' playhouse that Patrick built when our boys were really little. And so he put in a concrete foundation so they can't dig under. We don't have like weasels and stuff like that here. And so I don't know if raccoons will dig under, but I know weasels would. But just in case, it's like, let's concrete this and let's put a foundation so they can't dig under. The chicken coop is very solid, and there's pretty much no way for the raccoons to get in there. And they get closed up at night So, and raccoons don't typically come out in the day and try to attack chickens, at least not here. They go into hiding during the day and come out at night. We have had a raccoon try to get into our coop once since we built it, but it couldn't. So, so anyway, that's the update on the chickens. And again, there goes my throat every Sunday. Despite how good I might feel days before, or, it might be doing days before, or even the day of. Excuse me, I decided lozenge. What is it? Did I just get cut off? I saw something flash out of the corner of my eye. Okay, please let me know if I'm here. Let me type something. Did I get cut off? Okay. Texas says you're here. Okay. I saw something out of the corner of my eye that was very suspicious. So, okay, good. Thank you. Anyway, the throat lozenge. What is it? I can't believe I can't. The brown ones. The herbal, they got a whole bunch of herbs in them. I remember the old commercial used to be, the Swiss guy, up on the mountain with the big horn. You hiccuped? Okay. But it didn't cut me off. That's amazing. Huh. Usually when it does that, it's gone for good. Ricola. There we go. Thank you. The original ones, even though I don't like the shape of the original ones as much because they're rectangular. Those to me are the best ones. They're better than the other ones they make. So sorry, and sometimes it helps, but not helping so much. Yeah, they have horehound in them and a whole bunch of other herbs they have for a long, long time. And I've tried making my own, haven't been very successful with it, but I only really tried once. So let me do my echinacea spray. That usually helps quite a bit. Okay, let me get into my topics. So, whoops, pencil gets thrown to the floor. So the first one is on food preservation and keeping it simple. And this is just my personal choice. Everybody's going to have, they're going to want to, when you get into canning, which I know a lot of you already are, but especially for those of you who are not into it yet and are considering it, you're going to find what you like best. And everybody's going to have their own little special things that they like to can and put up. So it can be, like Deb was talking about when we talk about the dry canning of the potatoes. She likes to do potatoes, not all of them this way. She'll have plain potatoes, but she also likes to do potatoes and carrots together and then can them that same way, the dry canning, which I might try dry canning some carrots, but I'm not going to do that this year just because I have a lot of carrots canned up and I have quite a few carrots out in my garden. So I might dry most of those, dehydrate them. But I think this time I'm going to cook them and recall. I was reading that. I was reading that thing there, that comment. Whatever I was saying. Okay. So anyway, a lot of people feel the need to, or they might ask me, what's your recipe for canning this? And what's your recipe for canning that? And other than a few key things that I like to can up to have on hand, like maybe I'll can up some of my excess soup. Really don't do that anymore. I'll get to that in a minute. Really like to can up a lot of my excess chili. Won't do as much of that as I used to, but I will always keep some canned chili, homemade chili on hand. And then what did I say? Did I say salsa, homemade relish, meatballs, jams, that kind of thing. And the reason I like doing those, like the meatballs, if maybe I want to have meatballs and gravy or something for dinner, make up a whole bunch of meatballs, can them up, save some for dinner that night, can up the rest. And then I've got a fairly easy to make meal. saving the gravy from my biscuits and gravy and any other kind of white gravy thing, freezing it until I get enough. And then I've got one of those nights where it's like, oh, shoot, I forgot to pull out this out of the freezer for dinner, or I'm really too busy to make what I planned on making. I can pull out a jar of the meatballs, pull out that gravy I've been saving, and then just cook up some rice, heat them up together, cook up some rice and serve it over rice. It's like a really easy meal. So there are things like that I like to do. However, when it comes to like canning or dehydrating a lot of things, I like to keep it simple. So I don't really have any special recipe to save. I don't even can my Italian sauce anymore because I always have my dehydrated tomato flakes ready to go. And it's so easy for me to just whip up my Italian sauce and add whatever I want to at that time, depending on what I'm using it with. Am I using it for spaghetti? Am I using it for ravioli? Am I using it for lasagna? Am I using it for pizza? Because I'm not going to always add all the same things depending on what I'm using it in. So, at any rate, uh, some people must be behind quite a ways, or they must have started it from the beginning. So I'm so sorry. Oh, so irritating, the throat thing every time. It didn't bother me at our service yesterday at our fellowship, that which was nice for a change. But no, it wants to be an issue today. So anyway, how I look at it is I'm putting up ingredients. I don't like to have all these special, okay, I'm going to can these beans this way, these carrots that way with this seasoning and that seasoning, because I want them very plain and very simple. There's a couple of reasons why. If I'm wanting to get a bunch of canning done, I don't want a bunch of hassle of extra stuff, but mainly because I want to keep it simple, because I may change my mind how I'm going to use them. I want them to be very, very versatile. So this is why I can and dehydrate ingredients. So plain green beans. I mean, the only thing I'm going to add to stuff like that is the salt. Same thing with peaches, plums, other such things. Keep it simple so I can use it however I want. Do I want to use the peaches or the plums maybe to make a pie, or maybe decide, oh, you know what? I'm going to make jam out of this. I'm low on jam. I've got a lot of peaches and plums put up. I'm just going to go ahead and turn it into jam. That I don't see that ever happening, but because I always have way too much jam in storage, that I'm not even making jam this year. I don't think. So, and yeah, same thing like with the ground beef. I dehydrate some, I can some. Well, I don't know if I'll can more. I still have a lot of canned ground beef, but it's just salt and water. I probably wouldn't even if I ever canned ground beef again, I wouldn't even add water to it. I just put the ground beef in there, maybe mix some salt in, keep it simple so I can use it in whatever I want. And I'm not like, oh, I get down to my last jar of ground beef and it's, oh, this has Mexican spices in it and I wanted to use it in my Italian sauce or something. I don't want that. I want to keep it very simple. So don't feel like, especially if you're new to all this, don't feel like you have to do things that way. Don't feel like you have to make things with all the same kind of ingredients and spices and herbs and whatnot that everybody else is doing. You can keep it very, very simple. And it's how I prefer it. But then when it comes to, let's see, let me look here. Now, let me come back to, let me read here. So let me read a few things. So plums, peaches, potatoes, green beans. I'll do the same thing when I'm freezing stuff like berries, snow peas, and grapes. I don't do anything to them, but just freeze them. I want to keep it simple. But one of the things I have done that has made a lot of things easier and also makes more space in my pantry to put up more types of food or more of the same thing, just being able to have more space to put more of it up, is I started dehydrating a lot more things than I used to. So, I've shared before, I think I shared this last week, how I was pureeing and then canning my tomatoes. And then when I discovered, wait a minute, I can dehydrate these in the form of flakes where I can easily turn them into sauce and add as little water as I want, depending on whether or not I want it to be a sauce, a paste, or a soup. It's easy and it takes up such little space, and I don't have to wait until I have enough tomatoes to fill up the canner. Sorry. I always got family texting me, and sometimes, in some ways I'm always kind of on call. So that's why I keep my phone in here. So if it's an emergency, I can check it. Um, anyway, the dehydrated tomato, so much better than canned tomatoes. Because of that, it's so much more versatile, and I don't have to cook it down for hours and hours to get the thickness that I want in my tomatoes. Plus, the space saving is it's so wonderful. Same thing goes with pumpkin and zucchini, but like especially pumpkin, because that I do powder. And so every year once all my pumpkins have turned orange, then I cook them. I think I do have a video on this. I didn't think to link to, but I cook the pumpkin. I just cut them in half and take the seeds and stuff out and do something else with those. And then I just bake them until they're baked all the way through, and then scoop them out of the skins, and then spread it on my dehydrating trays. I use the silicone trays for that because it's cooked. It's going to be wet and sticky. So, and then I dehydrate them and then powder them up, and it's amazing how much space doing that saves. Even if you have cold storage and you could just stick your pumpkins in there and not have to worry about them for months and months, I would still do this because of the amount of space it saves and the ease of use for when I want to use it in making cookies, making icings, adding to, if I get one of those wild hairs and instead of just having black coffee, I decide I want to have a pumpkin spice latte, I can make it myself. And adding some of my dehydrated pumpkin to that is the same message. So, and then making pumpkin pies. It's so great. So it's keeping it simple. What else? Then the other thing is if I'm going to cook up something like the Tar Heel beans, which typically I'm using pinto beans, but I can use my homegrown runner beans for that, or the chili, cook up a big, huge pot of it, eat some of it for dinner, maybe eat on it for a couple nights. I don't have to worry about having enough to fill up my canner. I take the rest, I dehydrate it, and it's still, it takes a little bit longer than opening a jar of canned chili or canned Tar Heel beans and then heating it through, because you got to add the water and heat it through and let it rehydrate, but it rehydrates very, very quickly. And it's great. Same thing with soup now. I probably won't can a bunch of soup anymore because you dehydrate your soup and it takes up even less space. It's like you can have like this much soup and shrink it down to that. Then when you want soup, add your water, heat it through. It's already been cooked, so it rehydrates faster that way than rehydrating something that was raw and then you dehydrated it. And it tastes just like it did before you dehydrated it. It's so great. So things like that, I probably will very rarely ever can again because it's not necessary. Now, why would I still want to have at least a few jars of canned chili, which right now I still have a ton, is because, well, I don't see this happening much anymore, but like when Patrick's father was still alive, he was living down in California, Northern California. And so Patrick would several times a year drive down there, help his dad out with a lot of stuff. And I would send him, a jar or two of that chili in case he doesn't want to just stop and eat along the road. Maybe he wants to save money. He can just open up a jar, He can heat it up with his little stove, or he can eat it right out of the jar with a spoon, eat it cold. It's things like that that make it nice. He doesn't have to add water and wait for it to, rehydrate. How can I preserve my patty pan squash? I would say the same way I'm doing, just like in that. Since I don't have Deb here, let me see if I can find, if I get to it here, let me see if I can find that link, and I'll put it into the chat box there. Let's see. Let's see. Let me put pumpkin. I can't remember what I called it. Homemade, okay, pumpkin cookies, homemade pumpkin pie extract. Where is it? Somewhere here. Maybe I should have just put squash, because even though it's about I mostly do the pumpkin. I've I can't speak. Dehydrated other types of squash, like spaghetti squash. I do this same steps. How to make and use squash powders. There we go. So it shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter which. Where is my chat? There it is. Here's the link. Okay. Dehydrating squash. Let me title it so people know what this link is for. And then I'll try to remember maybe to go back and add it to the description. So you can use that method for any squash. So I've done it, like I said, I've done it with I guess I've only ever done it with pumpkin and spaghetti squash. But I would do that if I could ever get a good butternut squash to grow for me again. I would do that with butternut. I'd do that with whatever squash I want. If it's something that you're going to eat, already in that kind of softened, more pureed form, that's what I do. So summer squash doesn't can or dehydrate well. We do freeze that. Now I dehydrate all my zucchini, but I might powder it for adding to breads, pancakes, and things like that, but cookies. But as you guys know, I just use just the pieces. I prefer to just put up the little I dice them up, dehydrate it, and then it goes in most of my meals, all of my soups, all of my sauces, gravies. Even if I'm making an Alfredo sauce, throw that zucchini in there. Let it cook, because it's got such a mild flavor. It blends well with anything. Yeah, I've heard butternut makes a great pumpkin pie. I haven't used it for that, but one year I grew a lot of butternut, did really well for me. And I haven't tried much more after that. Because I just was really struggling getting it to grow. And I kind of gave up. I keep wanting to try again. Maybe this next year. I was thinking about doing it this year, and I thought, no, I'm going to put up more pumpkins. So my pumpkins are all starting to turn orange, which is cool. Let me see if there was anything else I wanted to touch on. I do also, I've talked about a lot of this stuff, like the dehydrating the apples, dehydrating potatoes. Now I probably will only dehydrate potatoes now in the mashed potato form, and then stick to doing the dry canning potatoes, even though that's going to take up more space. I think I'm happier with those. And then maybe the slices, dehydrate the slices, but I still got a bunch of those from a couple years ago. So I talked about the dry beans, the chili. So yeah. Oh, it also, this applies to leftover sauces. So if I'm wanting something that's kind of an instant thing, if I'm making a big batch of sauce of any kind, well, I haven't tried this with something like an Alfredo sauce or anything like that. That usually does get eaten up. But let's say I make a really big batch of spaghetti sauce. From now on, instead of canning it, dehydrate it. That's what I'm going to do. I tried it. I did a test run with it last year. Was very pleased with the results. About that same time, I did the soup and some other things. In fact, I made soup out of one of those cockerels we took out. So last week we had to take out the cockerels. I did, and I have one that I rehomed. And so that very night, I baked one up for dinner and then ate on that. And then we used a lot of the meat from that the next night, even though it wasn't very big. I mean, it's just two of us. I still had plenty enough meat to use to add to do a chicken fried rice, which we ate on for got 2 or 3 meals out of that. And then I made a soup out of the bones and whatever bits and pieces of meat that were still on there. And I usually cook my bone broth for several days. Add some homemade wine to help pull the minerals out because it tastes better than adding vinegar to pull the minerals out. You'll still get the minerals out even if you add neither one, but the homemade wine has a nicer flavor and can help boost that, pulling out the minerals and making it gelatinous. And then made a soup, and we've eaten on that a couple nights. I did add one of my last 2 remaining jars of canned potatoes with water that I did back in 2018. Definitely tastes good in soup when you do that. But anyway, what I was going to say is, so we ate on that for 2 nights in a row. And that one I did add some like cumin and chili powder to give it a more Mexican flavor, just for something different. And some of my tomato flakes to make it kind of a tomato soup base. And tonight I'm going to make fajitas, steak fajitas, because I have leftover steak. Because I pulled out some steaks, and they're like 2 big, huge steaks in one package. And so one of them was plenty enough for the 2 of us. And so the other one I'm turning into steak fajitas. So when I get done here, I got to make my tortillas and then get that done. But that soup, I still have a lot of that soup left. Well, if we don't want to eat on it for a week, I can take the rest and dehydrate it up and then just vacuum seal it in jars. And then whenever I want soup, there it is. I just add water and then cook it for a little bit. It'll be totally cool. Yeah, I don't bother adding, and I know I have a video on dehydrating apples. And I have done that, adding, like, you can add any juice to your apples and it'll prevent them from oxidizing. And then I decided to just not even bother with that. 'Cause for one, most things I use the apples in are going to have, something brown, like cinnamon, nutmeg, maybe a little cloves. But I found if you dry them quickly enough, you don't even need to bother with the juice. Well, lemon juice probably wouldn't turn it sticky. Was one of the reasons I stopped doing that. But you also are going to be more apt to get especially if the apples aren't super sweet, you might be able to dry them more crispy, which then can make them easier to powder to add to things like, every now and then I like to make apple cinnamon pancakes. Or like when I was messing around several months back with making different types of cinnamon rolls, and I made apple cinnamon rolls. So to the inner mixture where you have your cinnamon and your brown sugar and your butter, I cut back on some of the sugar and mixed in some of my powdered apples into that instead, and then made an icing also using the powdered apples that I drizzled over the top. Those turned out really good. I was really that was of all the ones I was messing around just being creative. Like the pumpkin spice ones were pretty good, but the apple cinnamon ones I'd say I liked better than the pumpkin ones even. I think I put walnuts on some of the pumpkin ones. Patrick doesn't like walnuts or pecans, or I just put them on all of that stuff. So I'm just double checking here. Let's see if there was anything else. Now I'll go ahead and, how many dehydrators do you have? Right now I just have the 2. For a while I had like 3 or 4 different Nesco dehydrators. One, it wasn't actually Nesco, but it's made by the same company. It was called American Harvest. It was my very first dehydrator, so it was a round kind. I used that for years and years and years. And as it was getting older, and I thought, I'm using this more and more all the time, and I don't know how long it's going to last. So I bought a backup dehydrator, but also so I could have more trays. But then I would run both of them at the same time, and then I found 2 more through the years at garage sales. Well, one by one, they all died, and so by the time the last 2 died, I had decided to try the Cosori that was recommended to me from one of my followers who's used the Nesco, the Excalibur, and the Cosori. She has all 3. She likes the Cosori best. It's all stainless steel on the inside, stainless steel trays, not plastic, and, she loved it, so I thought, "You know what? I'm gonna give it a try because I'm gonna need." I know the way my Nescos are all dying, I'm gonna need another dehydrator. So I decided to try it, liked it so much, I bought a second one of the same size so I could stack it. They now make this Cosori in a bigger size. When they first came out, they just had the smaller size, which is a 6 tray, and the trays are about like that. So I think they're about 14 inches deep-ish, but not quite as wide. But the newer one is like about the same size as the next caliber, like 14 by 14, and it's 10 trays. So they have both sizes, but I didn't want to get bigger one to take up even more counter space. I decided to go with a smaller and stack it. And a lot of times I'm just running one at a time anyway, but sometimes I'm doing two. So, um, we have a huge dehydrator called Texas. There you go. So you don't even, if you live in a dry enough place, unlike us, where it's wet and humid, when it's either raining or it's humid. There you go. Um, yeah, you can get away with not having to buy a dehydrator at all. So I have a video I did years ago on, well, I've done a few. I've done one on comparing dehydrators where I compared the Nesco to the Cosori, but also to the Excalibur, according to what I know about it, that from what people have told me and what I read about it. So if people are wanting to shop for a dehydrator, there's different comparisons because there's things about the Nesco I would say I like better, but now I'm liking this one so much that I don't think I'd ever go back to an Nesco. I like this one. I like the cabinet style, I like the way the door is attached to it. It's not something you gotta set on there. It opens just like a cabinet. Love it. It's easy to use. And then, I use the linen covers since that's the only thing is the trays have kind of big holes. So you want to put something over them for small things so they don't fall through. So I made linen. You can use 100% cotton covers to put over the trays for dehydrating things like herbs, flowers, things that can fall through. And then I use the silicone for dehydrating wet things and liquids, like eggs, milk, broth, bone broth. A lot of times, if I make a lot of bone broth, I'll dehydrate it. And that will, again, takes up a lot less space than canning it. Love it so much. I use one Excalibur. I'll have to look into the Cosori. Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the Excalibur. Um, I just am really happy with this. The price is a lot better than the Excalibur, and I just like the way the door and everything works, and the fact that it comes with stainless steel trays. You don't have to pay an arm and a leg more to get the stainless steel trays like you do with the Excalibur. So, yeah, I just think it's a good deal. But like I said, you still want to lay something over your trays when you're dehydrating anything small. I mean, bigger slices of stuff like apples, you could probably put right on there. But I don't even do that with the apples. I use the linen covers, and I just lay the apples, which is another reason why I wouldn't want to put juice on my apples. I just lay them right onto the linen and dehydrate them like that, and it works great. And the linen actually can help it dehydrate faster, or even cotton, but linen especially, because linen is one of the best for airflow and breathability. And that's why I decided to switch to linen because, I know it's 100% linen and it breathes very well. And I just love it. It's natural. I don't have to worry about it like the plastics, adding toxins to my foods and stuff like that. So, anyway, so there's that. I think what I should do as long as we're still doing good, I'm going to go ahead and move on to I try to do 3 topics while I'm just doing Sunday shows. Because remember, some of you might be new in here, but I take each one of these topics once I'm able to download the video the next morning, and then I take them and separate them into 3 different videos or 2 different videos, depending on how many topics. Edit it down, take out all the coughing and the weird stuff that's going on, add pictures and video clips and all that, and then I make standalone videos that go onto my main channel. And that works really good for me because then I get the fun of having the live show, but then I can turn around and make other videos for those people who can't make it to the lives, don't like the lives because they're so long and drawn out. And by the way, Tyler, first of all, I'm sorry about your donkey. It was a donkey, right? That seems so sad. So cute. But also, did you see that short that I tagged you in? I know sometimes it's like, where do you see the tags? Half the time you don't even know. But I tagged you in a short that came out this last week. That was when you were talking about Terry's husband corrector. And I had that vegetable tamper. Yeah. Let's see. Linda says, in the 1920s and 30s, Mama said they dried things on a sheet on their tin roof. She hated having to climb up on the roof and always can't instead. Yeah, I can imagine climbing up there would be a pain, but I bet it worked great because it's going to get hot up there. Easter, that's right. I was trying to remember the name. Yeah, so sad. So sad. I know my Claire has always been one of my favorite hens, and she's the last remaining hen from my original. We first got our chickens. She's the last remaining one. She was always my favorite out of them. Well, her and Broomhilda, but it's gonna be sad. We're thinking this is her last year. She's still laying though. She's 8 years old. She's still laying. She's not limping as bad as she was. So who knows? Maybe she'll start laying again this next season. I hope she does, because I would like to get some more chicks from her because she's been such a good hen. And I got Isabella from her. We can dehydrate on our tin roof, but all we get back are ashes. I can imagine. Tammy says, I love that short. The last little. And it was funny because it was so spur of the moment, and I was starting to put it down or in the skull. I don't know. I guess I'm just crazy that way. It's totally unscripted. My live shows are mostly unscripted. I just have notes to help keep me on track. And even then, it doesn't always work. My daughter-in-law sending me clips and photos and stuff of my grandson. And I'm trying not to look. I'll try. I have to save it for after the live show. Okay, so I want to. Well, you know what? Maybe I should go this other topic first, and then if I have time, do this one. Let me do another throat spray. This elderberry tincture does really help, and it does have horehound and other stuff in there. But it's mostly it starts to get itchy, and then when it gets itchy, and then my body naturally, and sore. Then what, just like with anything, your body wants to coat it with the mucus so that it, protects it, right? And soothes it. But then you get that in there and you're always having a clear throat. So, the joys of having nodules on your vocal cords from a lifetime of singing and teaching, etc., etc. Okay, so this one, it's not something I've never talked about before, but I decided it was time to do another video like this, or talk about it here and then do a separate video, because it's really important that people understand that when you're going from taking over-the-counter medications and pharmaceuticals and you're wanting to kind of wean yourself off all these things, it's common for us to make this assumption that, okay, well, I was on this medication for my thyroid, my hypothyroidism, just like I was, just like Patrick was. And it's common for us to think, well, if I could take a medication for that and it would help balance things out, then what herb can I replace this medication with? Well, in most cases, it just doesn't work that way. And so that's the question. The thyroid one is the question I get quite a bit, simply because people know that I took me and Patrick off our thyroid medication. It was the only prescription medication that we were on. And we did take some over the counter stuff. And I do still keep certain pain relievers on hand because every now and then there can be something where you might need something more than just the feverfew or something else. But in most cases, the herbs that I grow for pain work great. But something that's a more internal, like, thyroid or high cholesterol or diabetes or um, uh, high blood pressure. Well, first of all, let's cover the fact that high blood pressure, even hypo or hyperthyroidism, and a lot of these other diseases are typically not a disease. They are a symptom of something else going on in the body. And this is why you can't just assume that, just because you can take this pill, which a lot of times can make conditions worse or might help with that particular condition it's supposed to help with while causing more conditions. Um, I hate it when I get sidetracked. And then my brain, my thought goes over there somewhere and it says, bye. Ta ta. See you later, alligator. Um, anyway, yeah, you can't just think that, okay, I was on this pill, so what's this herb? What herb can I take? So I get that question a lot. What herb can I take to replace my thyroid medication? Not that simple. And if you watch our video, like the one we did in 2018, where it was both me and Patrick talking, we were basically giving kind of a testimony and sharing our story. So it wasn't all just to tell people how to do it. It really wasn't even about that. It was more about sharing what we did and what got us there. And it wasn't about taking some magical herb. The one herb to cure them all, which is what I was going to call this section. And with same thing applies to blood pressure. If you're talking about things, especially, internal issues that could actually be a symptom of something else that's an underlying condition, or maybe it really is a disease itself, in most cases, I'm going to say, let me say specifically on the four: high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and thyroid, low thyroid in particular. Most of these can be dealt with by simply changing your lifestyle and or diet. So what causes high blood pressure? Well, typically it's stress. It can be stress internally. So if you've got something going on inside your body, like you've got gut issues, or maybe you've got a broken leg or a broken arm or whatever it is, that alone can just simply cause your blood pressure to go up because your body's trying to deal with this. It's fight or flight. Fight or flight is what causes your blood pressure to go up, and it's necessary that it goes up. So, this phrase I got from Dr. John Bergman years ago, but it makes sense. If you are being chased by a tiger, of course, not most of us don't live in places where there's tigers. If you're being chased by something that's going to eat you out here, it might be a mountain lion or a bear. You don't want your blood pressure to stay down here at a resting rate. You want it to go up here so you can flight, right? So you can get away or turn around and fight. That is why the blood pressure goes up. That is why when you go to your doctor for whatever it is you're seeing your doctor for, and you're kind of scared and you're nervous and they're going to check your blood pressure and you're worried, 9 times out of 10, at least, just a statistic I just made up on the spot, your blood pressure is going to be higher than normal because you're under some stress right there. You're worried. And and then you also got the thought that not everybody should have the same blood pressure. So what may be high for one person over here might be just perfect for you. at just a common resting rate, or just, just a medium active rate. So first, first and foremost, when it comes to blood pressure, you got to understand that. But also, it is possible that blood pressure can be chronically high. There's something going on that's causing the blood pressure to be constantly high. This could be also coming from external stress. Like a lot of the external stuff I was dealing with different family members, people I really, really care about and love, and it was causing a lot of stress on me. I didn't have my blood pressure checked because I haven't been to the doctor in years, but I could be pretty guaranteed it was probably higher than it should have been, and it was probably pretty chronic because I was stressed out all the time and my hair was falling out. And well, that's your body reacting to stress. So you got to figure out first of all, what's causing this? How do I deal with it? And it could be more about changing what's going on in your life, changing what you're eating to help cure any other ailments within the body that could be causing the blood pressure to go up, that could be causing your thyroid to be low, or could be causing your cholesterol to be too high. That's another thing that people have to understand. For a while we were told all cholesterol was bad. Then we found out that we need cholesterol. Our brains are made up mostly of cholesterol. So if we're cutting out all cholesterol, that could be bad, right? That could cause brain damage. So then we were told, well, this, what is it? Is it the LDL that's supposed to be the evil one, and the HDL that's the good one? That is also false. Okay. Your body needs both LDL and HDL cholesterol. It needs to be a proper balance. So again, it comes down to a proper diet. And if your cholesterol is chronically high and it's causing health issues, which is highly doubtful, then maybe it is going to mean you need some kind of diet change. It's not all about taking a magical herb that's going to cure it all. Now, there are certain herbs that most people can use for a lot of things. Plantain, for instance, this one comes up a lot because of the fact that most people can find it just about anywhere around the world. Remember how I was talking about we're watching Alone? Well, we just finished up season 3. They're down in Patagonia. Usnea and plantain were available. Plantain's available up here. And so that one is, I wouldn't say it's a cure-all, but the nice thing about stuff like that is plantain, usnea, and the like, unless you have an allergy to these, which is, I would say, would be somewhat doubtful. But I don't want to say it can't happen. But you get something like a recluse spider bite, like the one lady did. What's going on over there? Is the dog trying to get in? I think the dog's. I got the pocket door shut. And she was afraid she was going to have to tap out because she had 3 recluse spider bites on her hip. But she found usnea and plantain, and she made a poultice out of it and applied that a couple of times, a few times at least, and also made a tea out of the usnea because it's a natural antibiotic. And she was drinking that, and she was prepared to call out if she had to tap out, because, something like that can cause, she could feel it starting to attack her lymph glands. And so she was starting to get a little scared, but she started drinking that tea. The spider bites ended up clearing up and everything started getting better. The swelling in her glands started going down. But had they not done that, she would have tapped out. So there's a lot of things out there that can be good for most people to use in a lot of things. And it can seem like it's quite magical because of the way God made these things so incredibly healing. So yeah, things like that. But again, there's also the whole idea that everybody's going to be different. And I can't tell you, if someone comes in and says, what herb can I take for this? I really don't know, especially when you're talking internal issues, something you've been dealing with all your life. I can't tell you that because my guess is that it's not going to just be a one herb fix. It's going to be a whole change. It's going to be maybe adding some different beneficial herbs that can help lower chronically high cholesterol, chronically high blood pressure, um, that can help boost the thyroid and get it working again on its own the way it's supposed to work. But I can't tell you which of those herbs are going to work best for you. I can give you suggestions. Well, here's some ideas. And this is why I have a video playlist, which I know I did link to down below, where I do profiles on herbs. And is there 100 videos in there yet? I know I've had to remove some, but there might be that many in there. Maybe at least 95. There's a lot of videos in there where I've profiled different herbs, not just herbs, but other things, and the benefits of these things, and how a little bit how they can be used. But then I also have a video playlist that I didn't think to link to, where I compile herbs and more for various ailments. So, are you dealing with high cholesterol? Well, here's a list of herbs and so on that can help. Diabetes, here's a list of herbs and more that can help. I'm not going to make any promises that any of it's going to be a magical cure for any one person, but it's certainly worth looking into and finding out what's going to work best for you. Maybe start small and start working with some of these things. Always want to start small with something you're unfamiliar with, because you don't know if you are going to have a reaction to it. Yeah. Well, yeah, the cholesterol, well, the LDL and the HDL, they're two different types of cholesterol, and you need them both. So the point was, first we were told, oh, bad, all bad. Then we were told, well, only the HDL is good for you. You shouldn't have LDL. It's really bad. I think it's in that order. And then come to find out, both the LDL and the HDL are important for proper body function. Though I can't remember which is best for what. I forgot. I read about it and then cross-referenced, and yes, it's interesting. So finally a doctor told what I didn't okay, let me go back. What does Michelle say here? My mom what ifed herself into high blood pressure several years ago. She would make it even worse by checking it hourly. Oh. Finally, a doctor told her to stop checking it unless she felt bad and eat some salt. Excellent. See, here's the thing. The salt thing and the blood pressure. I know back in the 70s, at least, it was a big thing. Like, don't eat salt, don't salt your food. I mean, how boring. If you've got high blood pressure, because it's salt that's making your blood pressure go up. No, it's not. That was also all a lie. Or let's be gracious and say maybe it wasn't a lie, maybe it was simply a misunderstanding. The problem with a lot of the table salt that you buy, that plain white table salt, is that it's been stripped of all the minerals. And you need the minerals that are naturally found in salt that hasn't been stripped of everything good. It's just like milk. If you drink milk in the most natural form, whole, and maybe a little more straight from the cow, it's alive. It's got the things in there that can help your body better digest it. And especially milk from that is high in the A2 protein, because that used to be common. That's why people could, back, a couple hundred years ago, could feed their babies cow's milk and they wouldn't have a problem with it, because it was in its proper form. Then the cows hadn't all been, bred a certain way, and now they only produce this kind of milk, which a lot of people can't handle. So you got a couple different things working against you. If you have dairy intolerance, it's probably the milk that you're getting. And the way it's been modernized and pasteurized and everything that was good and it has been taken out. And then, okay, now let's add this in and that in to make it better. Synthetic vitamin D and this. And okay, I'm not going to go all into that. Now, we don't get raw milk here much just because there isn't any available close by. But I do go with organic and I only ever get whole milk. Only. I don't, I mean, what a complete waste getting watered down milk. This had all that healthy fat that your body needs. There's a reason why the fat is in the milk. See, that's the other thing. I think another reason why people have these milk intolerance issues is from drinking 2% or 1% are non-fat, which really non-fat, it's just a water that has a little bit of white coloring to it. Yuck. I'm not a milk drinker anyway. I don't think I've ever liked drinking milk since I was a baby. But I love dairy products. Love me some cheese, people. I do like some ice cream now and then. That's a special treat. And getting that heavy cream, that organic heavy cream, and I've been using, I'm done putting up plums. And so we still have quite a few. I gave some to my daughter-in-law for, shared some, but I'm keeping a bunch of them, mostly using them to make our frozen treats, which is kind of like eating ice cream with the heavy cream and some raw honey, maybe throwing a little bit of vanilla extract. One of the last ones I made was a blend of blueberries and the plums. That was really good. So, anyway, let me see if there's, I haven't even been looking at my notes, people. Let me see. Okay. I want to make sure that I'm saying all that. Okay, I said that part. Let me say this because I want to make this clear. Herbs can and do help heal the body from all kinds of different things. We just can't, it's just not a one size fits all. And we can't assume there's one herb out there that maybe it works for this person, it's going to work for us. And let's see. Okay, covered that. See, I didn't even do it in order that I had it written down. That it really matters. Okay, then the last thing that I have on that is do your own research. This is so incredibly important. People ask me these questions all the time. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a licensed naturopath. I'm not a licensed herbalist. I know there's no such thing as licensed herbalist in the United States, maybe nowhere. But I'm not certified. I don't have any of that. I've never taken a course. I'm just one who studies on her own and learns things as I need to, or to do like I did, compile information to share with people. Like, here's a place to start if you're dealing with this, which a lot of those things I'm sharing have nothing to do with me. So I'm just doing it for the sake of other people to give them a jumping off point. But no matter who's giving you the information and how educated they are, you're still an individual person who's going to have some unique needs. And so you got to be able to do your own research, know what you're allergic to, learn what your body needs the most. Make sure you understand, sometimes, even though I never go to the doctor, I always try to self-diagnose, which I know people say, I never do that. But I have books, I have ways of looking things up, and I know how to get to the root of a problem most of the time. If I absolutely had to, yes, I would go to the doctor. If I really needed an answer and I felt like I wasn't getting it. But once you can figure out what is going on in your body at that point, and you know what you're allergic to, you know what you can handle, at that point, you can then start doing your own research and looking into, okay, I heard this herb, that herb is supposed to be good for this. Let me do a little more looking into it and see if this is safe for me to take, because maybe I'm still on this medication over here. Maybe I'm pregnant, or I'm nursing, or maybe I'm trying to give it to my child who's only, who's under the age of 5 or something, or maybe I'm giving it to my elderly parent and maybe they shouldn't have that particular thing at their age. So there's a lot of factors each person has to consider. So we can't just paint this broad brush and say, Everybody can take this magical cure-all herb. What did I call it? The one herb to cure them all. Just doesn't work that way. So basically, I'm not going to say that was a nutshell because I did kind of ramble like I tend to do, but that's the main thing I wanted to cover. I just I say it a lot, but a lot of times feel like it doesn't get heard enough. And so I try to get it out there in many different ways as possible so people can understand that it's not that hard to it can take practice, but it's not that hard to do some research. See, in the mid 70s, they said, don't eat much salt. I basically don't listen to doctors ever. And yes, I bought raw milk in the 70s, but gives me phlegm now. I use processed milk. Now, oh, gives me, sorry, I misread that. Let me say that again. But gives me phlegm now if I use processed milk. There you go. So, and then Aline, my husband has been taking various medications for bad digestion, reflux, etc. Nothing worked. He now makes himself fresh ginger tea. That must be the dog. Cody, are you wanting in here? I'm just going to make you wait. You'll be all right. And also, so fresh ginger tea and also fresh from the garden laurel leaves. Oh, wow. Very cool. That, and it's working. That's wonderful. I didn't know that about laurel, but, I knew that about ginger. Ginger is just super, super good for digestive health. But um, I know feverfew as, but it's not fun. Ginger's so much better because it's enjoyable as a tea. But feverfew is also very good for digestive health. Um, so I've used it, though most predominantly use feverfew for like headaches or like when I tore my knee. I use my feverfew tincture that's made that I also have other herbs in there like valerian leaf and so on. I've used it when on a rare occasion, like if it's growing fresh and maybe I got a little bit of a stomach ache or maybe feeling a little gassy or whatever it is, go out and just eat some of that nasty feverfew, eat it fresh. I know the first time I ate some, I'm like, this is horrible. I'm never doing that again. But you know what? Eventually, you kind of get used to it. Doesn't mean you ever enjoy it, but you kind of get used to that. And when you know it's going to help you, you can, if my herbs are coming in fresh, I will eat them fresh. I won't go for the tincture or the extract, as I usually call it. I go for the fresh herbs and just chew them up really good. So, yeah, as in bay leaves, right? Oh, I haven't tried it with lemongrass, Sandy, but I have tried it with lemon balm. Ginger mixed with lemon balm is a nice flavor. So I could see that. Lemongrass doesn't do well here. I tried to grow some. My friend was growing it and she was kind of struggling with it. She thought maybe she gave it to me to see if it worked for me. Yeah, it doesn't really like our climate, but lemon balm does. I'd really like to get lemon verbena to grow for me again. I like the flavor and smell of that better than lemon balm. And then I've had lemon thyme before, and that's decent. Tammy Harder, same on the coffee water. I am trying to get better now at having a glass of water handy. I still gotta have my coffee in the morning, and it's not because I need it to wake me up. I've never needed coffee to wake me up in the morning. I just like it. I just like my coffee. Oh, which reminds me, I still got to get to my last topic, but I have been, for whatever reason, my joints all started acting up. Maybe it was from all the stress I'd been under, but like the joints in my knees mostly and somewhere else, not my hands. I can't remember, mostly my knees. I think maybe my ankles. I don't recall. I mean, my ankles, my knees, my wrists are all areas that I've either sprained or done something to, torn something in. For whatever reason, they all, especially in the knees, were really bothering me. And suddenly one day that my knees started making like this weird crunchy noise. I'm like, that is weird. Like if I'd been sitting down for a while editing videos and I go to stand up and it'd like be really stiff and then it'd be crunchy, crunchy, crunchy. And then it just do that for, several steps. And then once that quit, then it was fine. But I'm like, that is weird. So I'm like, you know what? I keep forgetting I have. There's a lot of great things for joints. You got your comfrey, your arnica, there's a lot of great things, right? But I remembered I had this grass-fed beef gelatin. And I know gelatin is excellent for joint health. So I thought, and it's flavorless. So I just started adding it to my coffee in the morning, about a teaspoon, and you don't even notice it's in there. And after doing that for several days, massive change. All better. No more crunchy, crunchy. No more sore knees. I know there was some other joint that was starting to hurt too. And I'm thinking, what is happening to my body? I'm falling apart, man. So yeah, that was just so if you got any joint problems, I do have a video out there on herbs and more for joint health. Like what is it? Is mullein one of them that's good for joint health too? I know it's good for lung health. Seems like mullein is too. Oh gosh, there's a whole list of them. And for some reason my brain is not thinking of what all they are. But and then externally things like castor oil and etc. But taking internally, I think the gelatin, the beef gelatin, has been the best thing to help with my joints. The best. It's been great. So, and I don't have to take like supplements, mineral supplements and whatnot. I do supplements now and then if I feel like I really need them. And and by the way, I started taking I forget the brand name, but I get it from Azure Standard. I started taking it again. It's a whole food vitamin D3 supplement. So it's whole food. And I noticed that seems to be helping me in a lot of ways too. Where for a while I couldn't take D3 at all. It seemed like it was making my hair fall out more. But that one seems to be working good for me. Yes. Yeah, lemongrass is not easy to grow here. I'll say that, but lemon balm is. In fact, I might be putting out next year at least one of my lemon balm plants over on the side here because I've got two massive ones now over there. How did I end up with two big ones over there? I had one. Now I have two huge ones. And then I have a big one out front, which of course they keep making more babies. All right. Subject number 3. Let me get to this. This is a follow-up to a video that came out this last week that I called My Conspiracy Theory on Conspiracy Theories. Every time I talk about conspiracy theories in that light, just trying to shed light from all sides, as one who has been there, done that, as one who has done the deep dive down the rabbit hole, I don't know if it's that people immediately just get on the defensive because they only listen to the very first thing I say and then they stop listening, or if they only read the title and don't listen to anything at all in the video. But I will admit, I get a little irritated that people want to be heard, but they won't take the time to actually hear what I'm saying and the points that I'm trying to make. And so no one was rude. I've had people be extremely rude to me before over this topic. This time, no one was rude, but I did get the feeling from a few of the people on both Rumble and on YouTube that there was a few people that were a little offended by what I said. And I'm thinking there's no reason for anybody on either side to be offended by anything I said in that. Because I want to cover a few things and clear a few things up for the sake of those people that may either they did try to listen and just didn't hear what I said, or maybe I didn't say enough of something I don't want anybody to think that I'm pointing fingers at any one person and saying, you're crazy or anything like that, because I know what it's like to be on that end. Because I went through that quote unquote crazy period. Um, once you start diving down that rabbit hole, there's something called the there is a crazy period. It Because it gets crazy. It really gets crazy. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It just gets crazy, and it can make you crazy if you let it take a hold of your life, like it did with me, to the point that I was so stressed out about everything all the time. I was having constant nightmares all the time. And it was like, this can't be right to have all these kind of nightmares. And even my son, because he would hear me listening to these voices all the time, because I was always playing them all the time, listen all day long. He was having nightmares. He was a teenager at the time. Oh, my dog. So I want to clear up the fact that I never once said that all conspiracy theories are lies. I never once said that. I mean, you have theories, I did clarify that there's such thing as conspiracy theories, and then there's conspiracy facts that are indeed facts and they can be proven. And I've also seen and heard the phrase that what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and a conspiracy fact? 6 months. Not quite. For some of them, yes, maybe. But that's not entirely true. And the reason why is because there's some that may take years to find the truth. There's some that you will never find the truth. Why? Because they are flat out lies. And this is what I want people to understand. There's nothing wrong with learning about the things that do matter, the things that are going to affect you, the things that may cause you to look at things in a different way and then start making the appropriate changes. I mean, I'll tell you this, if it wasn't for me diving down that conspiracy theory rabbit hole, we wouldn't be in the position we are now with being more prepared. So I'm glad. I'm actually grateful that I had that time. Because what did it do for me? It helped light a fire under my rear end to make me realize the importance of food storage and getting myself off the thyroid medication and finding ways to take better care of myself and reducing my dependency on the system and trusting the government, for crying out loud. And you know how it all started? It all started because it was the 2012 election was coming up. It was 2010 at the time. And I said, you know what? I have never taken the time to really learn who any of these people are. I just vote for this person because they seem to be saying the right things. But I've never really researched it. And I felt like I'm an uninformed voter, and I'm just casting a vote for whoever, really, when it comes right down to it, thinking I'm doing the right thing. Because if I don't vote, oh, that's bad. But if you do vote for this person, oh, that's bad too. So I thought I'm going to finally take some time out of my very busy schedule, and I'm going to start learning. And oh boy, the things I learned. And as I went along and I got really involved in the whole political realm, watching how things were handled, and this isn't just one side, this is both of the two-party sides, both of them. They are both corrupt. And we cannot put our faith in either one, any party. I don't care what party they claim to be. You cannot have faith and trust in any of these parties. They're all corrupt to some point. Even if they start out good, they will become corrupt. What happened to the Uyghur party? Is it Uyghur? Am I saying that right? I'm probably using the wrong name. Whig party? I think that's what I mean. What happened there? Started out good. It became corrupt. And then you had another party that came up and took over. And what did they do? They became corrupt. So because of taking that step, It led me down a billion other different, and yes, quite a few of the things I got to looking into have been proven to be fact. But within that, I was starting to fall into, oh, just because this person that I listened to is, it's been proven that what this person said was true. I Now I went from believing everything this entity said to believing everything this entity said, and this entity wasn't right. This person over here was sometimes flat out lying, sometimes exaggerating, or sometimes just didn't have their facts straight. And I'm like, why did I go from trusting one source to a different source? I don't care who they claim to be. I don't care if they call themselves alternative news because they're no longer, because they're not part of the mainstream news or the legacy media or whatever you want to call it. They can be just as corrupt and wrong as the mainstream. And you've got to learn to vet your information and not believe it just because you think that's a trusted source. Even if that source is maybe they truly mean well, they can still make mistakes and get things wrong. And you can't just jump on the bandwagon. I had somebody ask me today, well, what conspiracy theories are wrong? I'm not going to tell you that. I know you feel like I should. The reason I'm not going to tell you that is you need to, as individuals, learn to vet the information. Because I had another person say, well, I heard this one channel, just two normal everyday people, tell me this. And so this one channel, it was one I've never heard of. Okay, one completely different channel. So this one channel told you this, and you just bought into it without actually doing the research. Now, for some things, here's the thing. Let's go back to the whole Katy Perry buying out Bragg's and the liquid aminos and the vinegar. Yes, I do know that one of the common complaints people were having was watered down vinegar. And I wouldn't know. I've never tried it. I don't know. I don't care. I was using the whole appeal thing as an example. That's all I was trying to do. I don't care because it doesn't apply to me because I have no interest in using their vinegar. And as far as their Bragg's, or as far as their liquid aminos, aka soy sauce, I do have other brands. I mean, if I don't want to trust Katy Perry and Orlando Bloom, because apparently they now own the company, I've got other brands I can go with. But that wasn't my point. A lot of people wanted to put all their focus on that when I was only using an example. My point is you can't just assume that just because some person over here said it, and maybe you've heard them say other things and they're right, you can't just assume it's true. And you can stop using that brand and stop using that product. That's why I went looking for a different brand of organic, non-GMO soy sauce. The only soy product I will use is soy sauce. But yes, I want it to be organic and non-GMO. And that's where I found the Kikkoman that comes out of Japan. And some people suggested another brand. And I will try it because I found I could get it through Vitacost. But, stop using it. Yeah, if you feel best, sure. Stop using it if you don't know. But don't start spreading information that you have no absolute certain fact that this is true. And you have no way to prove it. Don't just start spreading false information, because back to one of my main points, it will make you look bad. And now nobody will listen to what you have to say because this is why people are going to call you crazy. How do I know this? Been there, done that. Okay. Been there, done that. And then you got the people who are like, oh, but we have to know so we can take a stand. Been there, done that. Yes, I understand. And yes, absolutely. There are certain things that we need to be taking a stand against. We need to be taking a stand against things being done to our children without our knowledge, let alone our approval. We need to take a stand against things that are being forced on us, medical procedures that we don't want. Yes, absolutely 100% you take a stand. But I remember I used to think, well, I got to take a stand and I got to tell everybody this and that. And then here I am spreading a bunch of false information. And now the good things, the true things that people needed to hear the most, those things are going to get overlooked because now somebody says, well, I know this is false. And so now I look like a liar or a crazy person, one of the two. And now nobody's going to want to listen. That's one of the main points I was trying to make. Hey, buddy. Grandma's just doing a live show. You want to come say hi? If it's okay with Dad? Jax is here. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Anyway, so let me look at my notes. I want to make sure that I did talk about the benefits, but I wanted to make sure there was something else here. Oh, another massive benefit of jumping down that rabbit hole for me, and I think that most people can say this, is it made me a critical thinker. It made me learn to question everything. And this is so very important. So it's not all a bad thing. The thing is you got to find the proper balance. And you got to make sure. I mean, if you find yourself just constantly absorbed in it and stressed out all the time, so much so that you're not putting your time and attention into the good things of life, the blessings that God has given you, taking care of your grandchildren or your babies or your garden, then something's got to change, because you're only going to make yourself sicker, and you are going to have chronic high blood pressure. You are going to have health problems because you're so constantly absorbed in this stressful, scary stuff. There has to be a balance. Do I still listen to certain things? Yes, I do. There's one channel that kind of does more reactionary videos, just reacting to different things. And I like that one for fun, but it's also intriguing, and it might go, oh, I hadn't heard of that. That sounds something interesting I want to learn about. And then if I want to, I can do a deep dive. Some things I'm like, yeah, that's fake. That's stupid. That's easily explained away, like the whole lizard people thing. When the glitches happen, I've seen it happen with my videos, so people probably think I'm a lizard person too. It's so silly. Where the face gets all mangled. It's a digital thing. It's happening during the whatever. Anyway, I lost track of what I was saying again. Darn it. So yes, let me just sum it up again. Find the balance. Don't let yourself be controlled by the stress. Don't let yourself be controlled by the conspiracies. Stand up, prioritize, stand up for where it matters and what matters most to you and your family and your lifestyle, this life you've chose to live. If you chose to be more self-sufficient and you want to be able to collect rainwater, and you're hearing that the government's cracking down on rainwater collection, then yeah, learn about it and find out. Yes, there are areas that it's important to learn about and take a stand. I never once said it wasn't. But some people want to take what I say and make it into something I didn't say. So I just ask, when I bring these topics up, sometimes I simply forget to say some things and clarify. Simply ask. Don't get angry and assume. Just listen to what I'm saying, because I'm saying it as one who's been there, done that, and I care enough about you guys and about the truth getting out there, the actual truth. And it's not going to be heard by those who need to hear it if half of what is being told to them is absolute rubbish. They'll just stop listening. So, I care about those people too that are still don't know, that still don't realize that the two-party system is a big joke. and so on and so forth. I hope that helped to clarify some of what I was trying to say. See, what do you think about Doug and Stacy's channel? I know you are a friend of Stacy. Um, I want to I want to be very kind because they are good people. Okay. And they mean well. They didn't start their channel off that way. And they are both very good people. Patrick's talked to Doug on the phone. I've talked, it's been a long time since we've talked just because we're all so busy. And I've talked to Stacy many times on the phone. And they've helped us out with some various things. Some things that have nothing to do with YouTube. Just, just having someone to talk to help us through some just hard things that we're trying to get a hold of and understand what's the right thing to do. They are good people. So I may not agree with everything that is being said, but I understand why it is. Because what I see is someone who was in the same state I was in about 13, 14 years ago. And I know they mean well. I'll say that. Some people may assume they're just doing it for clicks, or there could be some of that. We all try to, we want our channels to grow. I mean, I would love to see my channel at least get back to, monetarily, instead of now we're kind of coming to the point where it's like, well, I guess it's a good thing I'm having to learn how to be more frugal with certain things, because now I'm, only making a few dollars an hour off all my hard work. And I don't know how much less it's going to get. And now I'm making nothing on Rumble, nothing at all. And wondering if I should even keep doing Rumble, because I mean, nothing. But God's in control, and I'm having to learn how to be more frugal again. And it is, sometimes, I know their channel went through this hard thing where they were getting hit hard because of all the health related stuff. And though I don't think anymore that my channel is being singled out, I think it's just part of what's happening to a lot of people. But that could also be a thing too. If maybe because I talk about alternative medicine and, how to heal yourself without having to go to, be on all these pharmaceuticals. But I don't try to say avoid doctors altogether either, because sometimes we need doctors, and we need good doctors that actually care about us and that have the right education. But you still want people to click on your videos. You put all this hard work into making videos, and you still want people to click on it, because that's where you're getting your revenue, is for people watching your videos. And by the way, since I'm making absolutely nothing, not even a cent a day on Rumble, please watch me on YouTube. Please. Please watch all my videos on YouTube. Don't watch on Rumble. At least I make something on YouTube. And so, there are people that might look at kind of veering their channel more towards the things that they see are getting more interest to help stop the fall. I mean, I will say, I've looked at my channel and say, I won't talk about things that I don't want to talk about, or things that I've never tried to make my channel about. But I look at some of my videos that are doing better and think, okay, well, maybe I should focus more on this type of topic, because people seem to really like that. And so that, I'm sure that has some say in some of it. But am I putting additional content or more detailed content on Rumble? I haven't in a while. Sometimes most of the videos you see published on YouTube are exactly the same on Rumble. There are a few videos, maybe every once in a great while, which if things keep doing what they're doing on Rumble right now, I'm not even going to bother doing this unless I have a topic I absolutely cannot talk about on YouTube, but I want to get it out there somewhere. Then I'll put it on Rumble and I'll shoot a separate video. But other than that, just like the CES videos and certain other videos I have made specifically for Rumble. And I will still do that if I feel like there's a topic like that, even if I make absolutely no money, if I think it's something important enough. But other than that, they're just all the same videos, but it's still more work. It's still more work for me to put it over there. So I'm just kind of like, do I bother? Anyway, I get my point in all that though is if a lot of channels, like I know their channel's been through this too, then Doug probably saw that, wait, hey, this is what people are interested in. And I'm interested, he's probably interested in it too. And that's why he wants to put that out there because it's what a lot of his followers, maybe not all of them, of course, it's what a lot of his followers want. And I would never fault him for that. I might not agree with everything he says, but that's okay. It doesn't mean I think he's crazy. It doesn't mean I think he's a bad person. Because like I said, they are good people and I know they mean well. Just even though I've never met them in person, I've talked to them enough directly on the phone that they're good people. And I won't ever say anything bad against them. I mean, not unless all of a sudden they sold their soul to Satan or something. That's not going to happen. Oh, when a person, let's see. When a person awakens, they tend to be exuberant and want to share. Exactly. They want to help. Yes. It takes a while to learn better ways. Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's exactly, Sandra, what I went through. I meant well, but you get so zealous and you're putting all this out there and you're, you want, here's part of the thing is you think that everybody, just like you started learning it and you're like, wow, everybody needs to know this. Everybody's going to want to know this. Then you realize you're going to have a couple different people. There's going to be people that are like, wait, that's too much. I can't handle it. There's going to be people that will feel like you're calling them stupid because they don't know it. No matter how you say it, it's going to come across that way. And that's one of the things that drives them away. Maybe your utter excitement is just enough like, wow, okay, that's a little bit much for me right now. I can't take this. And there's going to be people that just flat out don't want to believe it. And then also, like I said before, if some of what you're saying, you're spreading things that are untrue because you thought they were true, not because you're trying to lie to them, but they see that's where people are also going to think you're crazy for believing something that's absolutely been proven 100% not true. And then there's always those gray areas of things that may or may not be true. We don't really have real solid facts on either side. And in that case, I just say, well, here's some interesting thoughts, but I have no facts to back it up. You want to make sure people know that. So once I started figuring this out and I felt like it's something people need to know, I always go and look for the solid evidence. If it's there, and it can take a lot of searching. If it's there, typically you can find it. It's getting obviously harder these days because a lot of information is being hidden. But just like things like people assume that all .gov websites are just going to lie to them and not give them all the truth. But the truth is that it might not be advertised, but if you go to the National Institutes of Health.gov or the NIH.gov, you can find publications on herbs where scientific studies were done on the benefits of these different herbs, be it like nettle, dandelion, lavender. I found an excellent study on lavender, listed off all the benefits that matched all the more alternative sites that one would look at. So these places did have scientific proof. It was true. And the studies proved it. And they will list, it's hard to understand in dry reading, but they show you how the studies were done, what was being compared, a lot of scientific jargon that can be confusing. But if nothing else, you can go down to the conclusion of those. And that's usually pretty simple to read. But up above, you can see all the charts and all the information for people who can understand all that stuff. And that's why I like to share that kind of information, because people who are like, oh, this person's crazy. Well, here's a study on the NIH that shows this is true. Here's a study about Brazil nuts that shows that, yes, you can have more than 2 Brazil nuts a day and you're not going to die. It's actually going to be very, very beneficial to you. And so some people say, I would never trust the NIH. Well, you know what? That's kind of silly, because especially if you're one wanting to get this information out there, you want people to listen to you. You need to give them facts, and you can find the actual facts and the science, the studies, and how they were done there. Again, you might not hear it broadcasted a lot on certain mainstream media sites, but it's there, especially when it comes to certain things like certain viruses. Yet, you can find that studies were indeed done on certain herbs and natural things that you could find probably in your backyard that can help with these certain things, so that you don't have to get a you know what I mean? Right. So, I guess I am like this about plant-based and stop hurting and killing animals. I may seem crazy to some. And you know what? I don't think you're crazy at all, Aline. Some people might, but I also know that um, each person also knows what's going to be best for them health-wise. Um, and as a Christian, and I know this is another totally different topic that we would disagree on, but one thing I love about you, Aline, is that you've been so loving and accepting of me, even though we differ in a couple of things. And I appreciate that so very much about you. And I love your interactions, and I love that you share. So to you, that's a moral issue. And though it is hard, it is definitely hard taking out your own chickens. It's not a fun job. But I also do believe, as a Christian, that God gave us these as food and created our bodies to do that. However, you've got to follow what you believe is morally right for you. And you got to follow also what's going to be best for you, and you're taking care of your own self and your family. And I support that. And I believe that 100% you should have a right to do that, and never, ever have anyone force you or make you feel guilty for not eating animal products, because that would be absolutely wrong. And I would stand up for your right to be able to have the diet and to eat the way you feel is right for you. And there we go. Yes. So anyway, Aline's been a long time follower, and I will say that I've had like vegetarians and vegans, some that would follow me and be absolutely mean and rude, and she's never ever been that. I've had people who are not Christians, who don't believe in God, be mean and rude and harsh. Aline's never been that. And I do have a few followers like that. N- uh, that are like non-Christians, they don't believe in God. Totally fine, totally cool, and totally welcome here. There are others that are regular followers that are highly supportive, and they just put up with what they would see my nonsense. And I appreciate that so much. I really, really do. Obviously, we love having people who agree with us, but we need to have people that disagree with us sometimes too. Because you know what? If all we had was yes men around us, it would never cause us to think outside that box. It would never cause us to look and say, maybe this person has a point here and I should look into it. And so I think it's healthy as long as we can have good discussion. There was a time where people could talk about religion and politics and not hate each other. They could actually be civil and polite. You could have a whole family together that had maybe different political beliefs, but these weren't things that caused a whole family to tear apart or friends to fall apart. You learn from each other, right? It's like the whole idea of needing people. Sometimes I'd like to say I don't need people. Some of you who follow me like I didn't post it to Instagram just because I think I have people that follow me that are a little more sensitive to certain things, but I posted it on X and it was a meme I came across that was so hilarious. And it said, every time I go out in public, the public is there. I just can't keep living this way. And it just totally cracked me up because I'm very much an introvert. I don't like having to go out in public much. But, it's funny, right? But at the same time, I do understand that we need each other, even when we don't agree. There's, people in our fellowship, there might be some thoughts that come up that we may not fully agree with, but we can discuss it. And we end still loving each other. That's the way it needs to be. And we can do that no matter what the thing is. If people are just being outright rude and telling us that, whatever rude thing, then sure, we don't have to put up with that. But we can fellowship together and we can learn from each other and be cool. I don't put up with your nonsense. I appreciate it and log on to catch it. Well, thank you, Tyler. Deep South Homestead. Oh, how long have you been in here? Did you just come in here? Danny and or want? Oh, back here, way back here. You said hello like 12 minutes ago. Hello. Good to see you. Oh boy. So anyway, I really think that was all the topics. Hopefully I said everything right this time. And surely there was something I said in the whole conspiracy theory thing that someone's going to take wrong and get all bent out of shape again, because it always seems to happen. It's one of those topics that it tends to happen because they're not really listening. They're not listening. You guys, you need to listen. Oh, see, I'm not even hiding my real hands. What's the fun in that? If I hold him down here, you're not listening to me, people. Class, be quiet and pay attention. That's probably really loud in the mic, which, by the way, I hope my actual mic is working. I realized last week, I had my mic on. I forgot to open the app. If the app is not open, it will revert to my computer mic, which is why it was crackly. So hopefully it wasn't crackly this time. Oh, so irritating. I'm going to edit, and then sometimes it would kind of almost bleep out a whole word. So it's like, people are going to think I was swearing there. No, it's just my stupid onboard mic. Just being dumb. I really wasn't swearing, I promise. Yeah, some people, and you know what? Okay. Confession. Sometimes I don't either. Sometimes it includes when I'm starting to read somebody's comment. And instead of reading it really closely and thoroughly before I reply, I'm like, oh, here's another person who took what I said wrong. And then I go back and read it again. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just totally gave this person a lashing. And I sort of some of what they said was what I thought they said, but some of it was not. Like, I feel like an absolute moron. I'm always yelling at people to be quiet and pay attention and listen. And then I didn't read that like I should have read it. So yes, I'm guilty. And guess what? I can admit it because I'm just as human as anyone else. For crying out loud. Let's see. Maybe I should get those. What is that? Oh, a teacher. Yeah. The hands. The hands. Class. Actually, I'm kind of quoting a line from Men in Black, where it's his third grade teacher or whatever. Class, be quiet and pay attention. She's got the cat eye glasses on, the old cat eye glasses from the 50s. I feel God made us each unique in his own design. Absolutely, Tammy. Yep. Which, again, by the way, I cannot wait to share I just got to get I got to get all my stuff together, all my notes and whatnot. But I'm really getting anxious about sharing about this whole past, 2024 to 2025. So 2024 being the year I gave all of my gardens a rest. And this year, and some people are probably going to expect something a little different than what I said, or than what I'm going to say. Some of it will be what some people expect and some maybe not, but it's still a blessing and it's interesting. And I'm really excited about sharing it and how, even for those who are non-believers, there's this, you do learn a lot. You just learn a lot about your garden when you give it all a rest. But then on the spiritual side, there were a lot more lessons to learn than what I expected. And it's been pretty cool. So I'm really anxious. Decided I'm probably going to wait a little bit longer, finish up my canning and stuff. So I just got done canning my last batch of green beans. I did one more batch than I expected because I'm like, oh, I have room for more. I can put more in here. I can rearrange. I can take these carrots and put them up here with those carrots because I don't know why they're here. I think it was because I'd ran out of space. And so now I can take those out, put them up here, and I can have another row of beans. So I'm pretty excited. Done canning plums, and then I think I'm going to can up some more of those potatoes without the water in them. So then in your best Rosanna voice, you say, never mind. I was never allowed to watch that. Because that was when I was a teenager. I was not allowed to watch Saturday Night Live. And I've only seen little clips, and I don't remember her saying that. And the only reason I ever went to find clips was because when I was 14, I decided I went through this period where I had short hair. The what's her name? Dorothy Hamill hairdo. So right about the time that I was going through puberty, my hair was starting to get more curly and frizzy and thicker. That was when I decided I was going to grow it back out to a long style the way I always liked it and wanted it to be. Well, can you guess what happened? As your hair is coming out from the short Dorothy Hamill, and right at the same time your hair decides to get really curly. Yeah, this. And so I would go places. I had to put up with this because I was determined my hair would be long. So I had to put up with it in school, getting teased. People were calling me Rosanna Dana. I didn't know who that was. People are saying I look like a lion, cousin it. I was getting all of it. And I remember one time even walking through the mall, not the mall in my hometown, the mall over, I can't remember which mall it was, but it was in the Seattle area mall. Because I was visiting family, and I'm going through the mall, and it's a big one compared to what we had in Wenatchee. And I hear someone like practically on the complete other side. They were quite a ways from me. I heard Rosanna Dana. And I looked over, and it was some teenage girls looking at me, and I said, I heard that. And I was shy, but I still said, I heard that. And they went, sorry. I'm like, it's okay. I hear it all the time. But eventually I had to find out who she was. So yeah, the hair. It was nice when it finally grew out. Now it's not that big anymore because I don't have as much of it as I once had. So I've got a grandbaby here. I got a dog whining at the door. I should probably get going. Oh, and I got to go make my tortillas to go with the steak fajitas. Oh, by the way, I didn't have any fresh peppers, like bell peppers, because bell peppers don't grow well here. But I had dehydrated bell peppers. So I took them out, stuck them in a little pan with some water and salt, stuck them in the solar oven. So I'm hoping they'll cook and be nicely rehydrated for me to use in the steak fajitas along with some onions and stuff. So we'll see how it turns out. I haven't made steak fajitas in a long time, so it just sounds really good. She went off on these huge rants, then realized she had misunderstood. So in a tiny voice, she said, never mind. Oh, that sounds like me. Yeah, that sounds like me. I see why you said that. That sounds a lot like me. So I had the hair and the attitude to match. Oh boy. Oh my gosh, I love you guys so much. It's so much fun. And as I say every time, it's just you guys help me alleviate so much stress. Even though I haven't been near as stressed out, there are still just seems like other things that keep wanting to crop up to cause more stress. I'm getting better, just kinda letting a lot of it go, but this right here, this is just really a blessing to me in so many ways. So I wanna say again, thank you to all my mods. Thank you to everyone that comes in here and just spends time hanging out, even if you're only here for a few minutes because I go on and ramble for 2 hours and you still come in here, you give me some time, you say hi, you crack a joke, you be a smart aleck like Tyler every now and then. I love it. I love it. I need it. I appreciate it so much. So thank you, everyone. And let's see, very cool. Yes, thank you, Hollyhock Homestead. Uh, so I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Oh, some of you are probably in the evening now. So, and uh, a, but what am I trying to say? A great week ahead. And thanks for coming in. Take care and God bless. Bye.